I'm Alfredo, and I'm going to be running you through most of this presentation. And what we're going to start, and for those of you who have been at Salesforce presentations before, you're going to recognize a little bit the next slide. It's a much simpler slide than the one Salesforce shows, but it's basically our safe harbor statement for what we're going to be discussing today. Basically, what it says is that we're going to be talking about a lot of things that are on our roadmap and that we're looking to build. There might be some changes in terms of what we deliver and when we deliver it, but do know that everything we're presenting today are things that we're looking to build and that we have put on the roadmap, and there just might be some changes of when they're released for different types of reasons. So let's go ahead and start. And so I think what I'd like to show you next is basically, this is the team of HandsOn Connect. Most of you have worked with all of us. On the call today, we have Larry, who introduced the webinar. We also have Jenny and Melissa. They will be looking at, like Larry said, at the questions and see if you raise your hand. Feel free to ask any questions or make any comments as we go. We are going to have some time for questions at the end, but we're happy to take your questions as we go too. So if we can't answer them through the questions chat, we can basically enable your microphone and we can talk about it. So let's go to the next slide. Well, first of all, I want to say happy birthday, HandsOn Connect. It's 6 years old as of August, and most of you know that it's also almost a year since the Viato Point to Light partnership, and a lot of things we're going to be showing you today is a lot of work we've done in the last year. So I think HandsOn Connect has come a long way, and we're really proud of where we're at with it, and what's coming is we're very, very excited. So we're really happy to be able to share some of this with you today. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover a lot. Let me start with that. So we've tried to structure in a way that we can convey as much information. We don't expect this to be that you're going to understand what everything is, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions, and we're expecting the questions. And so please make the questions. And know that over the next couple of weeks, and as we release the next version of HandsOn Connect, we will be doing more in-depth webinars on different features. So the idea really here is for you to get a sense of what we've been doing, where we're going, and also it's basically the framework in which we're doing that. So the webinar is split in three parts. The first, we're going to talk a little bit about cloud solutions because it's basically the new track that we took with HandsOn Connect, as opposed to just being a product, is becoming more of a cloud solution provider. Then we're going to talk HandsOn Connect 3.0, which is the new version of HandsOn Connect, which we're going to be rolling out in the fall, winter, starting in October. It's going to be rolled out over several months, so you'll be seeing features coming on a weekly or monthly basis. And then we're going to get into a high-level roadmap so that there's a little bit more detail of what's going to be built and when it's going to be built and when it's going to be delivered. So let's start with HandsOn Connect and Cloud Solutions. So most of you know us for HandsOn Connect, the volunteer product. And one of the things we've done, although this is minor, is we've done a very minor change to our name and to the logo. We've added Cloud Solutions. And the reason we've done this is because our commitment coming into this is really to help you connect to what we call connect to results. And the most effective way to do this is helping you build better relationships. And what we mean by that is more engaging, smarter, and lasting relationships with your constituents. So if this is what we're committed to, we know that your constituents are a lot more than just volunteers. You can have donors, funders, all types of partners, your own staff, community members. So we wanted to make sure that what we were providing really allowed you to basically have this, an ecosystem or a platform or as we're calling it, a solution that allows you to make all these types of connections and build these. So to try to explain why, why we're doing the cloud solution, I wanted to put this quote out there, which I love. It's from Stephen Wright. If you don't know him, he's a comedian. And he has this line that says, "I live on a one-way street that's also a dead end. I'm not sure how I got there." And the thing is, a lot of us feel this way when we're in a product. So we go out and we get a product, we think it's great, we use it for a while, and suddenly we realize, wow, there's a lot of things I can't do, or there are things I thought we could do with it that can't be done. And this is really the crux of the difference between what's a product and a solution. And I'm not going to get a lot into this. We're actually hoping to have a blog out there in the next couple of weeks to talk more about this. But at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is to have a solution for you that doesn't matter where you are in your growth. It doesn't matter what type of consistency you work with. There's a way that we can tailor it for you at the stage you're at, and you can grow with it to where you want to go with it. So you're never at a dead end. Most of the products out there, we call them dead end products, and we really want to make sure HandsOn Connect doesn't become one. And the reason we call them dead end is because you eventually get to a place where you really can't do much more with that product.
And the fundamental change here is, during the first 5 years of HandsOn Connect, we used to say, hey, HandsOn Connect is the app that we've created that allows you to manage volunteers. And it's built on the Salesforce platform, which means there'll be all kinds of things you can do because it's on Salesforce. But if you wanted to do any of those things, we kind of said, well, you need to find a developer, or you need to figure it out on your own. If you want to do donor management, if you want to do map integration, these are all things you'll be able to do, but it has nothing to do with us because we're HandsOn Connect. Now we are committed to giving you all the power of Salesforce and work with you to integrate anything you need to integrate as your full-time partner in making everything happen within your Salesforce environment and make it work well with HandsOn Connect.
Perfect. Thank you, Larry. So, and I promise this is the last slide I'll spend on the solution, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of how we're looking at this and how is it that like Larry said, we can provide support and also, basically through all your constituent platforms. So basically, we're calling this a constituent engagement platform. So your constituent can be volunteers, donors, members, employees, board members, etc. And the way we do this is, first of all, we spent the last year re-architecting, reimagining and rebuilding the platform almost from zero. So HandsOn Connect is a very different platform than what you're using today, at least on the technology side on the back end. And what that really allows us is it gives us a lot of flexibility to not only to deliver solutions faster, but also to cater it to your needs and also to the needs you have within your community, because it could be because of a partnership, you want to work tighter with a partner, or it could be because now you have donors or your mission changed, so we can adapt a lot quicker. It also brings some inherent improvements on site speed and things like that. We've also focused a lot more on integration, not only with Salesforce, which is the platform we work with, but other solutions that run on platform like the Nonprofit Starter Pack. And we're also bringing in partnerships to expand the product. So everything from right now, Verified Volunteers, Click and Pledge, Salesforce, and we're working on several other ones. So before we move on to talk a little bit about HandsOn Connect 3.0, let me talk about cost, because I'm sure this will come up at some point. So there's going to be no change in the HandsOn Connect product and support cost on HandsOn Connect 3.0. And as a matter of fact, for many of you, the prices actually will go down this year because the 3.0 pricing is going to be better than what you're getting today. I know a lot of you are grandfathered into early pricing, so it might not affect you as much because you actually have very good pricing right now. But another big thing, and this is probably the only mention I'm going to make of it, but it's actually huge in terms of of how we re-architected this is HandsOn Connect 3.0 no longer requires the Salesforce portal licenses. And while a lot of you don't pay for this, some of you do, and so that price goes away. There's a new portal pricing licensing, which is significantly less than what you're paying Salesforce. And also keep in mind, for those of you who aren't paying for these licenses, although Salesforce hasn't announced it officially, it is possible that these licenses will be retired at some point, and you might have to move to communities, which are a little bit pricier. So knowing that will probably be coming in the future, and when we re-architect the product, we made sure to break that relationship with those licenses. And we are going to be talking about a lot of new modules or improved modules, and those will be an additional cost. Part of the new structure really is that while we're simplifying the product so it fits you best, we're also making it a lot more modular so that you can build things in different ways. And some of those modules will have an additional cost. So I just want to let you know that up front. So let's talk about HandsOn Connect 3.0. So first of all, just for those of you who don't know, everyone's currently on version 2, and it's 2x because 3.0 is the very first version, so it goes 2.1, 2.3, and so on. We did start naming the versions by month, so basically everyone should be receiving the 2.x September release in the next couple of weeks. You do not have to move to 3.0. We will continue supporting 2.0. At some point, obviously, we will retire it, but if you have no need to move over, you don't have to. Now, do keep in mind there is some functionality that will only be available in 3.0 because, as I said earlier, because of the flexibility we have now on that platform, there's a lot more we can offer. The 3.0 is the new version of HandsOn Connect. Like I said earlier, we released over several months, and that's starting right now in October. And there is a migration cost to move over to 3.0. And we can talk a little bit more about that. It does depend on how complex your organization is, but it actually is a quite nominal fee. So I just want you to know up front, it's not a huge amount of money.
And within our audience today, we actually have one customer that's in the pilot for 3.0. They're one of our newest HandsOn Connect users, which is the Volunteer Center of South Bay and Long Beach. So we have one 3.0 user in the crowd.
Yay, that's great. So I'm going to go through a couple of the features that are in 3.0. We actually had to remove a lot of. There's a lot packed into it, so so I'm just going to hit the highlight ones. We've talked to a lot of customers, and there's actually, like Larry just mentioned, there's a lot of customers in different pilots. We have customers currently in the custom theme, in the nonprofit starter pack, in the 3.0 pilot. So you might have heard me talk about other things. If you want me to talk about this, just put it in something that I'm not covering today. Just put it in the questions, and we'll try to talk about it at the end. So I'm just going to hit a couple of the highlights of 3.0. Probably one of the most important ones, and going to that theme of flexibility, is now we're going to have additional standard and custom themes. So as most of you know, the one theme we have is pretty much the same for everyone. And I mean, you can vary the logo and some colors, but there's not a lot of control you have over that. Starting later this year, we are, in addition to the current theme, which we're probably going to rename something like Classic, we are going to have some additional themes that are default that you can use in addition to one you have. But we also offer custom themes and features, and this is really powerful because it allows you to design the site the way you want it. The HandsOn Connect can have the exact look and feel and branding that you want. And also, we also allow for additional features. So if there's something specific that you're looking for, we'll work with you and let you know if it can be built out or not. But there's, if you have a partnership that requires a specific type of feature, or there's something that you've always wanted to be able to offer that's something we don't offer, we can help you build it out. And if it's something that we can later integrate into product, will actually assume part of that cost, or sometimes even all of it. Okay? So let me show you a couple of the custom themes. So I'm going to pop out of the presentation 1 second. And so right now we have two, the custom themes are in pilot, and we have a couple that are about to go live. I'm going to show you 2 of them. Go live probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. One is the Golden Gate National Park Conservancy. As you can see it, their focus is more around training the volunteering. Although they use the volunteering portal, but if you look at the site, you'll see it's a very, very different look. It's also a very simple site, but this is HandsOn Connect. You're looking at a HandsOn Connect site. And then the other one is Chicago Cares, and so this, once again, this is HandsOn Connect. You can see it's very different. Here you will recognize more of the objects you've seen before. You see the search here, but you'll see that they have a video integrated, and the way they present their events a little bit different. They have an image slider here. So just to show you, how different the site can look and how branding, how specific it can be done for your branding. So let me jump back to the presentation, and I'll put it back in presentation mode here. I think I jumped one. Okay. And then the new custom themes, actually the new standard themes, including the default theme that you have today, the one we're at the moment we're calling Classic, does have improvements. So even if you switch over from HandsOn Connect 2.0 to 3.0 and you keep the same theme, we'll keep the theme identical to what you have it. But even that Classic theme has improvements on mobile responsiveness. One of probably the biggest improvements is speed. It loads about 10 times faster than the current site. And it's also built in a much leaner way in terms of styles, and much more modern. All the libraries have been updated, which means that it performs better across multiple devices, including speed and display, but it also it's friendlier towards a search engine optimization, which is basically how sites like Google index your site, because it's able to read in a smarter way your site. It knows what's social, it knows what's the way the HTML, which is the code behind the site, is structured, is brought up to newer standards. So it works a lot better for that. The next module that we're building out is what we're calling the Advanced Registration and Sign Up module. A lot of you have versions of this that were done as custom development on your current sites, and so you'll see that some of this will be included in this. And if you do migrate over, we'll make sure that everything you have in your custom development is brought over and integrated into this module. It might take a little bit longer to move it over, but we are committed to that. So basically, one of the things we did is we looked at all the main touch points you have with folks using your site, be it a partner, be it a volunteer. So in the case of a volunteer, there's 2 main touch points, which is when they register to create an account and when they sign up for an opportunity. So given that these touch points are also, and can also be considered what are called adoption points, which is as the volunteer is, once they start a registration, there's a certain level of commitment to your site. Obviously, it's a lot more than just seeing your homepage. So for every incremental level of commitment a user has to your site, the more you want to be able to think about that workflow in a smarter way, so that not only is it more basically that process is more successful and you get higher conversions, but also that there's opportunities not only to make that commitment even larger, but also to make sure they don't drop off. So there's what the Advanced Registration Sign-Up does. It allows you to have basically custom registration and sign-up that you can add static pages, donation pages, also images, videos, and even the later and later this year or early next year, we'll be also adding the e-signature and waivers. This is a paid module, but it does give you a lot more control over what happens during that registration. And probably most interesting is, and there's also several other integrations, like verified volunteers will eventually integrate into this module. Right now, the verified volunteers exist as a separate module, but basically it allows you to design those registrations. And probably most interesting is that we're going to be building in, and you're going to see this a lot in the next couple months. We're focusing a lot more on analytics and data and the metrics of the processes. We really want HandsOn Connect to be significantly more customer and data driven than it is today. So as we're able to pull data out and share it with you guys back, you're either either through reports or analytic tools or any type of metrics, we will do that. So one of the things we're building in this module is what we call adoption metric analytics, and it's really not a term made up. It's actually used quite a bit in marketing. And the idea really is given the different touch points you have with your constituents, is how effective are they adopting what you're telling them. So there's data out there that shows that if you have someone who volunteers, they're much more likely to donate. So that's maybe a workflow you want to think about, because if someone is already signing up for an opportunity, having a donation opportunity in that process might make sense. But also you want to make sure that for those users who are really not willing to commit yet at the level you want them to, for example, maybe you want them to donate or volunteer, but you're seeing that there's a drop-off at that point, you could offer an alternative that they could pledge. They could pledge a dollar amount, or they can pledge a number of hours to volunteer. And once again, the whole adoption theory kicks in again, where if someone commits to pledging, they're much more likely to commit to the next level at some point via donations or volunteer. So
go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, just to put this a little more simply, right now, a lot of you have been trying to collect fees and so forth, and when people register on the site, they fill out the registration form and then they go to the success page. Or if they sign up for an opportunity, they sign up for the opportunity, there may be custom questions, and then they go to a success page. What this is going to enable you to do is add additional steps. So it might be when you fill out the registration form, when you click submit, then you're taken to another page that says, as a member, we do charge a membership fee, and here's what it is, and click here to pay your membership fee, and they'll be able to make that payment right there as part of the registration process before they've completed it. They don't have to go to another site. It'll all be integrated right into HandsOn Connect. Same thing if you are doing a serve-a-thon, for example, or a United Way Day of Caring, and you want people to make a minimum donation of $25 in order to participate, you'll be able to build that logic into the sign-up process rather than having to go to sending them emails secondarily or whatever. It becomes part of the requirements for completing the sign-up process.
Perfect. Thank you, Larry. And let me throw in also that, like I mentioned earlier, I know a lot of you have this in your current system, but also just a little bit of background of how we're building, and like I said, we want this to be a lot more customer-centric, and part of it is getting the feedback from you. So if any of this, you have things you want to share with us that how you would like to see it work and things like that, please share it. And a lot of what went into the first version of this module was based on what exists already, but also we surveyed a subset of customers and got their feedback of what they would like to see. So we're very open to getting your feedback on any of these things, or even things we don't present. So
a couple of questions on it that came in through the questions. Is the donation processing through Click and Pledge, or will it be a HandsOn Connect native donation process?
It's going to be click and pledge to start off with, and we will probably, depending on what customers are using, we might add a couple of others. I know that some folks do it directly with a payment processor like Authorize.net or PayPal. We believe that click and pledge is a great tool, but we also know that there's other tools out there, and that you might actually have a commitment to a payment processor of basically a contract that you might not be able to get out of very soon. So yes, at the beginning it's going to be click and pledge, but keep in mind that some of this functionality does all that. So if you're embedding like currently a PayPal form, we could continue to do that, so there's some flexibility here. But to keep it short, yes, click and pledge is the main donation tool to integrate here.
Will this payment processing be available for the partner registration process as well? For example, if you wanted to charge a member fee of your partners?
So not at first. Right now, it's the two flows that we're looking at are the sign up and the volunteer registration. But the idea is to start putting it in basically any touch point with your constituents. So partners would be pretty much next on the list.
Great. And got a little enthusiastic response from New Jersey Cares. Next slide.
Okay. The other thing is multilingual and international. I know that this might not apply to many of you, but the site is now completely multilingual and international. What that means is that it can handle multiple languages, basically as many as you want, and it can and what it means to be international and multi-location is that international means that we optimize it for different regions. And multi-location, what it means is that it will handle currencies and dates, formats for the different countries. It actually does it by browser. So if I know that some of our U.S.-based customers are asking for the multilingual, basically to better serve their local constituents, since especially if you're in a larger city, you might have populations that speak different languages. So this is available to everyone. You don't have to be an international customer to use this. I'm going to show you one of our international customers, our first international customer, which we're very proud of. And you'll see that they're on HandsOn Connect 3.0 already. You'll see that they're using the classic theme, and you'll see that everything is in Dutch. If there's basically, they have a Dutch and English, they could have Dutch, English, Spanish, as many languages as they wanted here. If I was coming in with a browser that to English, it would default to English. If I come in with one that's set to Dutch, it will default to Dutch, and then it will remember the language you come in. So it will be smart enough to know where you're coming from. But I'm going to switch to English just so you see that the language changes. And you'll see that obviously their names remain the same, but you'll see that all the menus and text change to English. Can you go back to the presentation? Let me talk a little bit about what we're calling the partner integration module. I know it's not the sexiest name, but I think this is actually one of the more exciting things we're doing. We understand that you work with partners, and that the tighter and the more, the tighter integration you can have with your partners, and the more collaboration, the better. So what we've really been looking at is re-engineering the product so that there's multiple ways of integrating with different partners. So we look at it in three ways. So there's improved what we're calling improved partner tools on the site. So the main partner tool that you had before was basically the partner page and what many of you call the corporate pages, which is the invitation only pages. And those themselves have been improved, especially the invitation code pages. They have a better way of displaying the project associated to that invitation. They also have other views now. They have a grid view and also a calendar view, which didn't exist before. And we're also going to be adding a map view. And actually, those 4 views I just mentioned are also going to become part of the main search. We also have now the ability to do branded landing pages. So if you wanted to offer a partner of yours that they could land on your site, and even using a subdomain of your partner, and they would be a page that has not only is co-branded or fully branded with co-branded with you or fully branded with their brand, but lives on your site that has some basic functionality like the search and sign up and things like that. We can do that now, and we have better filtered searches too. So if you want to create a subset of a search for a partner, we can do that. We've also expanded a lot the number of integrations we can do with partners. So, for example, with single sign-on, we're working right now with the University of Pittsburgh, who's a new client of ours, and for their students, if their students are signed in to their university account when they come to the HandsOn Connect instance, they don't have to create another account. It automatically creates the account for them, and if they already have an account, then it logs them in. If there's additional information that you need that's not part of the account, then it would just ask them for those questions. And I think, and we also did something very, very similar for HandsOn Knoxville. I think Alex is probably on the call, where they have a corporate partner and their employees basically can access the HandsOn Knoxville site in a very similar way. So this is great if you have partnerships or where you want to make it a lot easier for your partners' users to access your site. We're also doing we're working with another client with a community partner, and this is not using the single sign-on, but it's using the APIs. The APIs is basically the way we can have 2 separate systems talk to each other. We actually wrote a blog about 2 weeks ago on this, if you're more interested in it. So basically, we have APIs now that allow you for your partners to run part of your functionality directly on their site. Obviously, they're going to need certain technical know-how and expertise to do this, but we're currently working with 2 partners on this, where one of them is actually recreating a lot of what's done because they want a very specific user experience for a subgroup. And then we also have site-to-site integration. So if they're using a different platform, because one of the things we're really looking at is breaking all those silos of data. So if you're using either a partner or internally, you're using a different system, and it doesn't make sense to bring it into Salesforce or something like that, we can tie it in so that you can look at all the data in one place. And then last is we have third-party integration. So there's a lot of the partners we've talked about we can integrate with now. So, but there's everything from it can be an ordination system or a corporate system or an ERP system that we can integrate with it, or that we can run within the platform. So for a good example of this is for a food bank, we recently they needed a system where they have 8 trucks that basically pick up and deliver food. So they needed a system that would optimize those routes for them based on the requests coming in. So working with Map Anything, we set up that system for them, and then that's going to be tied into their agency model, which will be tied into the nonprofit starter pack. And interesting enough, they don't even have HandsOn Connect, the volunteer module yet. That's probably going to be early next year, but we started with them on the needs they had first. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to give you some quick highlights of 3.0, especially like the things that are new and different. Just keep in mind that 3.0 is the way we're building it out is all the base functionality of 2.0 is being brought in, but we are looking piece by piece to make sure that because one of the objectives is to make it simpler, much more user-friendly, and provide a much better user experience. So as we bring pieces over to 2.0, there might be some things that are no longer available in 3.0. but we are working with clients closely to do this. So now, basically, if you're interested in moving to 3.0, we basically have a checklist that we go through with you, so that you know what the differences are, and how things are going to, how it might work a little bit different in 3.0. So although I only gave you the highlights of 3.0, keep in mind that probably 70% of what exists today in 2.0 will be available in 3.0. So that's why I didn't go through that detail. But let me go through the roadmap. And this is the roadmap we've been publishing for the last couple months. We just updated every couple months to show you what we're doing. We're currently still in summer. We call fall basically October through December. That's why the summer is there. And we also want to share a little bit what we've been doing. In the summer, we completed the integration of the nonprofit starter pack. I know a lot of you are in that process with us. Also, the integration of click and pledge. We also added text notifications. There is a $ there because it does require an integration with Twilio. And Twilio does offer nonprofits a $500 credit, but after that, you do have to pay one of their plans. There's a new check-in kiosk, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. Multilingual, which we talked about. Single sign-ons is available too. Verified volunteers integrations are really available. So we're going to focus mostly on what's coming fall forward. So as you can see by the banner, it says HOC 3.0 or HOC 3.0. This is where most of the 3.0 functionality is going to start coming in, is during the fall. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides. We're not going to cover all of these, so we can come back to this slide if you all want later to discuss things that we didn't cover. Oh, and then there are things that are not technically on the roadmap yet, but we are keeping on the list. For example, Salesforce Lightning experience for HandsOn Connect. One of the main reasons we haven't done a lot here, actually we really haven't done anything, is because we know that Salesforce will probably be officially launching this in Dreamforce coming up in October. For the last year, they're still building it out. So once Lightning officially says, okay, this is ready to go, we'll start work on the HandsOn Connect Lightning version. And there'll be other things on this list as we go. Okay, so let's talk about the check-in and checkout kiosk. So what is the check-in and checkout kiosk? It's basically an on-site interface so that volunteers can check in or check out at the site, and also records attendance. So some of you know that there's actually been a check-in kiosk for a while, and I know there's some users. But basically, the way it worked is that when a volunteer reached the site, there would be a computer, a tablet, where they would enter their email, and then it would see if there was a connection for them. If there was, it would check them in. If there wasn't, then there wasn't much more that could be done, because it was really set up for folks that already had a connection. So we've done a couple of things to it, and we once again we rebuilt this from scratch too. First is we're looking at ways to make the check-in and check-out quicker. Obviously, the ability to do it via email will be there, but we're also looking at ways to do it, for example, via QR code. So if I don't know if you've all used like the boarding passes that now you can get on your phone, those e-boarding passes, where basically you get a text message or an email that you click on a link, and it basically puts a code that you can add to the wallet of the phone, or just keep it on the browser. So the idea is, if 24 hours before, we'll send out to all the volunteers registered an email or a text message, depending on what you select, and with that code. And when they reach the site, all they have to do is scan that code, and it checks them in. And if you have checkout, the check-in and checkout kiosk is you can configure it different ways. So if you have it configured for checkout, you can do the same thing with checkout. You can still do the email. And then later on, we're going to also add geolocation check-in. So basically, when the volunteer is within a certain distance of the location, they will, I mean, their phone will basically pop and says, hey, it looks like you're here. Are you ready to volunteer? Do you want to check in? They'll say yes, and they're checked in. We're also adding the ability to do team and group check-ins as well as a guest check-in, and it will run on a computer or a tablet or even a mobile phone. We are also in early 2017. We're gonna be launching the mobile native app. This is a companion app for volunteers for iOS and Android. Depending on the interest of you all, we might add other platforms, but these are two we're planning to begin with. And this is a full native app. So currently the site is mobile responsive, and with 3.0 it became even more mobile responsive in the sense that it's more efficient in how it does it. But this will be an app for volunteers and basically volunteer leaders. And what this will do is they can basically access their account through the app. But it'll also add a couple things such as better messaging to volunteers. So, I mean, we all know that, especially with younger volunteers, it's hard to get them even through SMS. It's really hard to get them via email. So it will support push notifications through the phone, and we'll be adding things that might be specific to the mobile native app that might not even exist on the desktop app. So this is where we'd love to hear a little bit of your input. It'll also be tightly integrated into the kiosk that I just talked about. So if you are running the kiosk, you won't need a separate app or log into a separate site for it. The native app will know that you're using the kiosk, and they'll be able to do their check-ins through the app. And then we'll also do a better integration with social media so that it's easier to share and update and things like that through social media. Keep in mind that the kiosk that I talked about earlier is you're not required to have 3.0 to use it. At this point, anyone can use it. It is in pilot. The pilot is starting in about a week. We've also, like I mentioned earlier, in a way to really expand the constituents that you can work with using the HandsOn Connect platform, we've also integrating with our tools, the main one being the Nonprofit Starter Pack for donor engagement. There's a lot going on here. Melissa actually just gave a Nonprofit Starter Pack webinar yesterday, and there's probably a couple more on the schedule. I'm not positive of that, but if there is a recording of it, and we're happy to talk about the Nonprofit Starter Pack at any time. But basically, it gives you a tool to do donor engagement, and so it manages for donor management, for grant management, event management, membership management, and it integrates with HandsOn Connect, so you have that 360-degree view of your volunteers and donors. It also lets us leverage the household model. We do need, if you are interested in this, we do need to talk to you one-on-one about it, and I'm really not the expert, Larry and Melissa are, but for new customers, this is the model we're probably going to be starting them on, and we do have like a hybrid solution if you're using our model. Once again, you'll see that there's a bullet on the right-hand side and additional features about adoption analysis and reporting and metrics. Like I said, we're really moving to being a lot more data-centric. So we want to bring to the front a lot more of these metrics so that you can make better decisions. So, and there's also tools out there that we can leverage that will make you look at this data and be much more efficient on managing and engaging your donors. I'm also going to talk about fundraising tools. This overlaps a little bit with the Nonprofit Starter Pack, but it's much more the touch points you have for fundraising. Obviously, there's a Nonprofit Starter Pack integration, and what you'll see here is mostly donation form. A lot of this is through Click and Pledge and tools like that, but it does integrate well with the Nonprofit Starter Pack. It also, so this is donation form, donation widgets that you can place on your own site or other sites. Integration with HandsOn Connect at the bottom. I know it's kind of small, but that's a really simple widget that can be built. Also for fundraising, you have events, text to give, e-commerce if you're adding, T-shirts or things like that you want to do. I'm not sure why I repeated the nonprofit start pack integration there, but and then things like peer-to-peer fundraising. And on the analytics, once again, we have adoption analysis, we cross-constituent reporting and metrics, and we also have predictive analysis. So both the nonprofit start pack and Click and Blitz do a little bit of predictive analysis, which basically they run a report every day at, I think it's at 3 a.m. and they look at all your donations. So if you have a campaign going out, you might not want to send them to the same email or even send them to the same donation widget. If you have the folks who donate $100 and those that donate $1,000, obviously maybe the widget you want to send to $1,000 starts at 1,000 and doesn't start at 100, while the ones that donate 100, you start their widget at 100 instead of starting them at 1,000 or less. So it really does run these reports every day for you, and it helps you make those decisions, and you can tie them to your campaigns, and our things are available in Salesforce. See, how are we doing on time? I think we're doing well. I'll go through these quickly so we can get to the questions, but we're also improving the search engine significantly, and we're adding a recommendation engine. So this will allow us to do functionality for it. If someone is looking at an opportunity detail, we can list underneath similar opportunities that other people have signed up for that also looked at this opportunity. Very much like you see in Amazon. We're also, like I mentioned earlier, not only better searches, but also better results, so that you can see the results geographically in a map, you can see them in a calendar, and you can see them also on a grid, which is friendlier, and also in a list if you need like more efficient way of seeing your results. And most of all, well, not most of all, but also using the search engine to make recommendations, or let your volunteers, based on their profile, that we can make recommendations and we can push them out to the volunteers as notifications that volunteers that they might be interested in are available. And that pretty much wraps up this webinar. I mentioned the word pilots a lot, so I thought I'm probably should explain it at the beginning, but I'm going to explain it now. So a pilot for us is when we have the built-out functionality ready to go live. It's been tested internally, but we are asking customers to join the pilot to help us test it and build it. So they have a lot of input during the pilot, a lot of feedback, and it just helps us build a better product before it goes to general release and a more stable product. And testing, if you don't want to be part of the pilot, but you do want to be part of testing, we're also looking for customers to help us test. And in this case, instead of you using the functionality and piloting, then under testing, we would set up a testing environment, and we would ask you to go in and run and test and get your feedback. You also get a lot of feedback into what we're building, and you help us test and build a better product. So if you are interested in joining a pilot or a testing, which we call it a UAT group for user acceptance testing, contact Melissa, and there's her email. And with that, I will see if you guys have any questions, feedback, things you want to see.
We have a few questions. So Caitlin is asking how the map works. Could you possibly jump over to a site where the map functionality is turned on and show what that view looks like, or describe it?
No, what we have so far is the grid, the list, and the calendar. The map is still being built out. So unless you know something that I don't, I mean,
I'm not sure, honestly, but
okay.
the intent, Caitlin, is that you could, instead of seeing each project listed by description, you would actually see a map view with different places projects are. Then you could click on the map to see what project is in that location. I believe
Right.
that's what.
So when you pull up the map, it will put the project with based on their location with pins. Of course, it does need the information on location. I know not everyone uses that, so it might not be it might not be something that all of you can use, but that's the general idea. So if you're looking at projects, you can see them in a map and maybe see how far they are from you, and you can also do the route to that location.
Okay, more questions. So Laura's asking, at the beginning, we mentioned that Salesforce licenses would no longer be needed. Can you tell us more about that? Our affiliate has more than 10 free licenses. So Laura, you will still need Salesforce licenses for accessing the back end. The licenses that won't be needed anymore are the partner portal licenses and the authenticated website licenses that volunteers use. Now, early HandsOn Connect customers received those licenses for free from the Salesforce Foundation, and that agreement still holds as long as those licenses are still available. But folks who came onto HandsOn Connect within the last couple of years actually pay for those licenses, the licenses that volunteer leaders use, partner staff use, and each volunteer uses. There is a cost associated with those, and under HandsOn Connect 3.0, those portals are not being built using Salesforce sites, but exist in an environment that we've created on the .NET platform, and the licensing cost there is going to be significantly less. So that's where the cost savings would be, but it won't affect your Salesforce licenses. William is asking, you mentioned All for Good. Can you provide more info on that integration? Alfredo?
Sure. And there's a couple of things going on with All for Good. So currently the search is powered by All for Good. So all the searches on HandsOn Connect are powered by All for Good. We are working with HandsOn Connect, with All for Good and Point to Light, so that we can run our own search, so that we can make it more specific. And a lot of the recent work done on the searches, like for multilingual searches, is actually part of the HandsOn Connect search now. So on one hand, that relationship we're going to be a little more independent of it, and I think for those of you who have seen issues with the search in the past, that's actually good news. And at the same time, we're also working with All for Good if one of our clients needs a broader search than their own opportunities. They want to include regional or local opportunities that you're not posting. Then we have basically an agreement with All for Good to make that available to you. There is a cost to that, and I think I know some of you already do this. So, but yeah, that's the agreement that we have with them.
So John is asking, does the partner integration module mean we'll have improved partner portals, more customization of tabs, and easier to update the content, and more modern layouts would be great? So John, the new partner portals are not going to run on the native Salesforce platform. In the initial rounds, the goal is we're designing a more modern looking, easier to use, no Salesforce understanding needed version of the partner portals, so that the goal is that a partner will find it completely intuitive how to create and manage volunteer opportunities. In the first version of this, it will not be something that you'll be able to customize, though we will be able to do some customizations based on individual requests. If you need some additional functionality in your version of the partner portal, that's work that we can do for you at a cost. But the goal here is to just create you don't even need training interface, so that it's very clear and easy how you do the chores that people traditionally do in a partner portal. Alex is asking, can we share the functionality that will be dropped from version 2 to version 3? So Alex, at this point, a lot of that is still evolving. In some cases, early adopters of version 3 may not have all the features that are in version 2, but they may be coming down the line. things that we know are being dropped in version 3 are going to be things that we find people really weren't making much utilization of. And if very few people are using them, we're not going to go to the trouble of building them as a standard part of the product. The other area there will be some drops is, for example, we're reworking team functionality. So those of you who subscribe to the release forum, we've been putting up little polls periodically saying, hey, how many of you are using public teams? Is this a critical part of your business? And what we found out is everybody said, no, we don't use public teams. And so to make teams simpler to understand, we're not going to have public teams in version 3. So anybody who's thinking about migrating to 3.0, especially early on, we will have conversations with you and say, at the current time, here are the functions from 2.0 that are not available yet in version 3, and tell you whether we're planning to add them or whether they're not going to be part of version 3, so that you can evaluate whether it's a problem for you to make that migration, and so on. Let's see. Will address verification and prospecting be integrated? Alfredo?
I know on the address verification, we do have that on our list, and we're looking at different options. There's actually some that are technically part of the nonprofit starter pack, although they're mostly third parties. And then so we are looking at doing a better. One of the changes we do know that's coming is the way we handle zip codes and all that. We are looking at using a different service for that. And for the address verification, that might fall under that effort, or it might come out of what is currently done in the nonprofit starter pack. So we do have it on our list, and we do know we need to find a solution for it. We just haven't come down to finalize, like I said, okay, this is the way we're going to do it.
Jose is asking, what about data and reports on the back end?
There's one more piece to that question.
I'm sorry.
A lot of prospecting is so we do have prospecting as part of our of what we want to include, and it's going to be very similar to my previous answer. What we want to include in our new approach to being much more data driven. And especially, with data and metrics and analytics. So the prospecting is obviously a key component of that. There is prospecting that exists already in Salesforce. There's additional that you can pay for. There's prospecting that exists in the nonprofit starter pack. There's also in Click and Pledge. And there's additional tools we can add on. That, once again, we haven't. Most likely, we're going to have different options for that built around things that exist already. But once again, we don't have something we can tell you this is what integrates best with Salesforce and HandsOn Connect, and if you're using the nonprofit starter pack, the nonprofit starter pack.
And let me just say this generally about this goes back to why we're now HandsOn Connect Cloud Solutions. One of the things that people have said over the years is that HandsOn Connect is so darn complicated. And the reason that might be is because we keep adding features that a few people need and want to use, but for most people, those features or functionalities are just not part of their business. And so rather than trying to cram everything into the core product and say, hey, here's 30 new features that you need to learn how to use for HandsOn Connect, HandsOn Connect is going to be a base product that has the basic functionality, and that for people who have specialized needs, for people who want to get into prospecting, for people who want to get into fundraising, for people who do need address verification, we'll be able on a client-to-client basis to add on additional modules or functions that you need without troubling the rest of the HandsOn Connect population with giving them things that they don't even know why it's there. So it'll make the product both simpler and more powerful on a client-to-client basis, a hand-tailored solution to each business's need. One more question, and then we probably should wrap. What about data and reports on the back end? Will capabilities be expanded along with the new architecture?
So, I mean, you obviously will continue to get the reporting in Salesforce and what's available there. And one of the things we are doing is cleaning up those reports, because some of the reports are I mean, the data they provide are not that bad. So one is improving the reports that are there, but the tools you'll continue to have. And we're adding other ways to look at your data. So we're going to start testing, and I think Melissa actually sent out like 2 days ago a test to a small group of metrics that you can receive, and if you like them, then we'll add them to reports. So what we're going to do is, there's data sets that you simply don't have access to, or at least not all in the same place. So, for example, you really don't know how many searches are occurring on your site. So that's one of the metrics that Melissa sent out a couple days ago, and as we build out those reports and get your feedback, then we'll see if we can include that as a data set inside of your instance. And to what Larry just said, not everyone needs that, but for those folks that do use that data and those analytics, we do intend to make reports available and dashboards, but also give you access to data also on a monthly basis, because we can generate it either, especially benchmark data. And for example, I know that one of the recommendations we got from the first data set that went out this week is that, can you benchmark us with other organizations that are in basically our size in our sector. So we are looking at huge data sets, and basically, if you guys are hearing all the lingo, big data, and we're trying to figure out ways that we can make that available to you.
And one last point I want to make about why this transition to HandsOn Connect 3.0. In addition to providing cost savings for folks who were or are currently paying for Salesforce portal licenses, the other thing is the new environment that we're building the public site and the volunteer functionality and the partner functionality on is a better development environment for us. One of the reasons that features came sort of slowly over the years with HandsOn Connect is that building within the Salesforce ecosystem, particularly building things that have to work in portals and so forth, has always been a slow, complicated, developer-intense process. And so the cost of adding a new feature and the time it took to accomplish it was much greater. Once we're fully migrated into HandsOn Connect 3.0 and working on the .NET platform, we'll be able to be more responsive, add new features more quickly, customize things for people more easily, and that means greater cost savings and more power in HandsOn Connect in the years to come. So that's all part of the grand scheme of where we're going with HandsOn Connect.
I think that's a great point. Last year, when we came on board, we made the commitment to you all to do monthly releases, and we have done the monthly releases. But like Larry said, it's a huge effort to do that in Salesforce, because turning around a release requires an enormous amount of work. But on the new platform, not only can we commit to the monthly releases, we'll probably be releasing a lot more often than that. So so that really is two things. One is you'll see updates a lot more frequently, and if something doesn't work, you'll see the fix significantly faster within days, within hours or days, as opposed to having to wait for the whole month, which is what is basically the only way we could do it in Salesforce.
So thanks everybody for coming today. We appreciate your being here. We are going to do 2 more of these presentations. Melissa, do you know what the dates are? Just in case you have other people in your organization who might want to see this. Is that on a slide? Or?
It's on the 15th and on the 20th. If you go to handsonconnect.org, there are places to sign up for additional webinars. We also recorded this today, and so I'm sure we'll be posting it, as well as the slide deck. I know William mentioned that he'd like to share it with the rest of his team, so we appreciate you being here.
And we'll see you guys in labs, and the September release is coming to you this week. The release notes are in the release forum, And by the end of the month, look for a brand new version of the support site that we'll be launching. We're migrating the support site into a newer mobile-friendly environment, and I think you'll be pleased with the new functionality that will come with that. We'll have an announcement about that in just a couple of weeks. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.